I've seen what fame does to people, and that's why I vowed personally that I will never seek after fame. I will never hunger after fame, and I will never ever chase after fame, because I have seen fame destroy so many people, destroy so many lives, rather than build them, especially for those who are so desperate to be famous. Now, let me just ask you a simple question. What is fame to you? What's its worth? What's the price of fame? What's so important about fame? I mean, is fame really fame to you as you perceive it? Or is it just a perceptive illusion of anxiety that you have? Because many have rushed and desired and got desperate to be famous. But when they got unto that point, they realized that fame was not the highest peak of life. And they realized that fame was not all that they thought it was. But they realized that fame was just a subjective expectation that someone subjects themselves into it, where you no longer have your own freedom. You no longer have your own will, but you are subject to the will of the masses. I mean, you have now to think a certain way, to act a certain way, to do things a certain way, to please the masses. And when you don't do so, I'm telling you, you receive a backlash of insults, of all manner of criticism from all corners, from your fans. I mean, and you find yourself that now you have to live under their manipulation, because when you don't please them and you want the fame, then you won't get it. But now you have to please them in order to stay where you wanted to be at that state of fame. I mean, the illusionary perspective that many have in regards to fame is not actually the reality of what it is. I mean, do you perceive that when you're famous, it is when you will be the person that you are supposed to be, and that now that you're not famous, you are not who you are supposed to be? I mean, it is just, you're going to be just the same specific person. It's just a status of living that is going to change. And if you don't understand that, I'm telling you, you are going to lead yourself into ruin and into destruction, into depression, just like many have led themselves into that corner of limitations, limit thinking, limited peace and limited joy, that you can't be free to do what you please, because I mean, all eyes are on you. Many people make the greatest and biggest mistake of their lives because they confuse fame with greatness. But these are totally two different, very different things. You could be famous, but practically living a life to the deepest levels of a dungeon. But someone else could not be famous, but they could be the greatest in society, bringing so much impact and influence to the betterment of everyone where they go, either in society, in any institution, in livelihoods, in friends, and in acquaintances. You see, many just hunger and thirst for the fame, and so they want to take an instant flight from ground zero to fame. And when they get there, there is nothing in between the ground and the top to hold them there. And so they realize that There is no any other choice but to fall back to the ground and start building again. And many are not willing to fall back to the ground so that they can gradually build themselves to that point of fame again. So they try to hold on and grab onto any means that could sustain them in that realm of fame. And this is where many, especially the young, get entangled in cliques and gangs and occultic groupings and ordinances so that they can be sustained at that place of fame, because they cannot bear the shame and the remorse of being regarded as someone who rose and fall. But one thing you should understand is that if you want to rise to the top and stay and flourish there, you need to begin by building foundations gradually. I mean, you have first to start by building the foundation of humility. There is something about an humble person who has chosen to walk in humility that you cannot beat nor break. You have to be so humble to realize that whether you are famous or you are not, and when you reach on top there, you are still the same very person. It's only a status of living that has changed. Therefore, godly morals and values that are acceptable in society should never change and should never be tossed down the drain just because you have risen to the top. That's foundation number one. Foundation number two, you should raise a foundation of understanding, to understand the reason why you wanted to be up there in the first place, and to understand why you are there now in the first place, and what is expected of you by everyone you interact with, by everywhere you go. What is expected of you? Your desires on what you need to achieve must be consistent, and you have to be conscious of what you could lose in the process of acquiring fame. You need to know who to interact with and who not to, and you need to understand the specific place of everyone who comes into your life and the specific place of everything they bring with them. And when you build these two foundations, now when you take off the ground, you will be standing on solid foundations that will hold you to the point that you cannot slam back to ground zero. And then you need to build another foundation. A third foundation, the foundation of wisdom. You need to clearly understand that you are not the only one with the desire to ascend to the top. You are not the only one desiring fame, and therefore you understand that there will be fierce opposition. There will be sabotage from your closest allies. And there will be even backstabbings. And you need to understand through the wisdom, foundation of wisdom, that not everything enticing, not everything that seems good is another opportunity for you to excel or a breakthrough. Many of the things that seem enticing on your process of ascending to the top are actually traps to your next level of baggage of bondage and catastrophe that could finish you off completely and totally, never to rise up again. You need to know when to speak and when to be quiet, and to understand that not every provocation deserves a fight, because many of the fights you could engage in could be the fights that will bring you down low again. Still, you need to create another greater foundation of persistence, which is foundation number 4. You need to understand at this level that the devil's spiritual wickedness is more prevalent and much intense in high places, because that's where the desires, the untamed and unruly desires of men and women, are at peak level, in desperation for acknowledgement and applause, because the higher the ranks in life, the much the craving for mass accolade. Now, if you have no persistence to get over this, will this level and desire of you that you have in your heart really sustain you to continue ascending, or will this level be the pit that swallows you once and for all? Then again, now you need the 5th foundation, which is the foundation of faith. When you get to the top, I'm telling you, you need to understand that there is a greater power, a greater source, a greater force that has elevated you into that great level. And total submission and subjection and obedience to that power and that force must be consistent and must be subjective for you to continue flourishing in that level that you have ascended to. When you reach the top of your career, of your dreams, your achievements and aspirations, you realize that fame wasn't that a great deal, but there are still greater realms of achievements and elevation that are greater than fame. And now your desires have to level up and be tamed so that you can rise and soar above the noise, soar above complacency, soar above vain cliques, soar above compromise, and soar above wicked ordinances, so that your level of influence won't be used in any way to lead any society, any tribe, any generation into error or into abomination against the Lord. So if you don't have faith, when you reach to the top, I'm telling you, there will be nothing to sustain you there. And you will be knocked in all sides until you end up eventually being a guest of the devil, sleeping, dining, and dancing with the devil for the rest of your life, so that you can remain there. Because there has to be a power up there, when you are up there, that levels you up, that grounds you into humility, that grounds your desires, so that they don't get you consumed into engaging and becoming an ally to spiritual wickedness in high places. I'm telling you, take note of this and take it deeply in your heart and in your mind, and stick it there, to never take it for granted or take it lightly, and it will save you life. It will save you a great deal of misery and trouble. I'm telling you. Now, my brother and my sister, think it not strange that when most folks become famous, that's the moment they turn away from God. That's the moment they fall into the sneaky traps of the devil and join forces with the devil, to serve the devil, to worship the devil, so that they can continue to remain there at the top, because they didn't build any foundation when they were rising to the top. They just had an anxious and untamed and a desperate desire to rise without any process. And when they got there, they realized that nothing can sustain anyone up there if you have no other force that is backing you up, that is supporting you. If you have no support system up there, you cannot survive. There is no force pushing you. And therefore they realize that the only way they can survive there is to find anything to grasp on, to die up there, rather than come crumbling down to ground zero. And when you get there, I'm telling you, you still need to soar higher. You still need to rise into greater heights above all those that fight you, because there's so much chaos up there at the top. There's so much fierceness of hatred, fierceness of so many battles of trying to pull you into things that are ungodly. And therefore you still need to rise above those that fight you. You still need to rise above those that criticize you, those that fight and toil day and night to bring you down, so that instead of seeing you as a rival, now they can start to highly esteem you as a mentor, and they will look up to you for advice and for insight. I mean, just imagine being a mentor to other mentors. So do you still have the desperation to rise instantly, to take flight to fame without building foundations, without going through the process of ascending gradually, having something to fall back on, having something to lean back on, rather than thin air? Don't get overwhelmed or consumed by the desire to take instant flight to fame without any foundation. Because I'm telling you, when you get up there, you realize that fame is not even a great deal. And now that you have shown the masses, you have received applause and mass accolade, and it has thrilled you. And you cannot live without acknowledgement and applause and mass accolade again. And now you will be forced to dine with a wicked force, to dine in a cult, to dine in a clique, so that you can stay there. And it will be a shame, because eventually the devil has nothing good to give to you. Eventually the devil will squeeze you and smash you back into ground zero. You see, many families have paid dearly. Many livelihoods have been destroyed just because of the desperate desire to be famous. Many relatives, children, parents, many friends have paid dearly with blood sacrifice just for folks to stay at the realm of fame, because they didn't have any foundation to sustain them up there, because they didn't have any wisdom and knowledge and understanding and faith to know that fame is just thin air. Fame is not greatness. I wish that this sinks in your head. And I'm telling you, don't take it lightly. And if you take it with a grasp of understanding and wisdom, I'm telling you, it will save you, save your life, save the lives of many people that could be destroyed just because of an unruly desire, untamed desire, a wicked, a desperate desire within your heart and your mind. Have a good weekend, and may the grace of the Lord, the peace of the Lord, the joy of the Lord that surpasses all understanding, that cannot be found anywhere, not even in fame in this world, may it cover you and sustain you in the name of Jesus. Oh, hallelujah. Praise be the name of the Lord.